It's never been easier to start a business, but it's never been harder to make one successful. Because these days, anyone can start a company, build a website, and start getting leads off social media and competing with you in market with a new product or service. And that's a beautiful thing. It's great for consumers, it's great for businesses, it's great for innovation. But for business owners, it's tough because now we've got a sea of new competition competing for attention and competing for customer eyeballs. So how do you compete? Well, I used to think the best way to compete was with a better product or service. It was with an incremental feature or that new benefit or that thing that little bit better. That's not it. Over time, I've learned the number one marketing asset you will ever have is proof, is case studies, is success stories of past customers that we've solved the problem for, that can do the selling for us for future customers. But in creating these success stories of proof, I've seen some companies do it incredibly well, but I've seen some companies struggle with this. And I've seen three big mistakes I want to talk about in this video. So if you're creating success stories of proof for your business, hopefully there's something in here that'll help you do it that little bit better. So the first one is to make sure it's in the legal terms and conditions of the engagement. And what I mean by that is when we go into a transaction between a business and a consumer, there's terms and conditions. There's the master services agreement, whatever it is. But proof, the case studies, the expectations need to be in those legal wording. The reason is if you're not putting it in there, then 6 months later, when you've achieved that success and you've solved that problem for that customer, they've been massively successful, you're not asking for them to deliver on the commitment, you're asking for a favor. When you're asking for a favor, you can bring in all sorts of new variables that you hadn't expected for. But if it's in the T's and C's, you're going to avoid that completely. And as part of that, you need to figure out what's the right level of risk that we're asking for in these T's and C's. Because for some businesses, it might just be a logo. We might be asking for a testimonial or a quote, or we might be asking for a written case study, or we might be going all the way to the top and getting a video case study of them, on premise, whatever it may be. And some businesses will be okay with all of that, and some businesses might be okay with none of it. But we have to figure out what's the right level of risk we're putting in that standard documentation to make sure we can do this well on repeat for years to come. And if you're thinking, Andy, I've got a great set of customers and they're all successful, I've got not in the legal agreement, we need to figure out, do I ask for permission to do these case studies or do I ask for forgiveness? And only you can make that decision. That's number one. The second thing in creating these really powerful marketing assets and case studies is to ensure that the customer is the hero of the story. And the best example of this I can think of is Mario, the Super Mario from Nintendo. Now, Mario is great by himself. He can fight bad guys, he can jump stuff. But when you give Mario the fire flower, then he turns into Super Mario, one that can create fireballs and can jump over buildings and beat Bowser. And that's the story we want to frame in these case studies. It's no longer about our product or service. We're just the fire flower. It's about the customer being Mario, turning into Super Mario, and achieving their goals and being massively successful. And when we do that, it completely reshapes the narrative. Because one thing I've seen companies, do, which isn't great, is to frame the original Mario, like the original state, as problematic. They were struggling to do this. Their systems were a mess. They were wasting lots of money. But no one wants to hear that. The story of Mario doesn't start with Mario being a dropkick. Mario is still great by himself. And we need to frame that story of our product or service being that transformation that Mario needed to be the best Super Mario he can be. That's number two. The third one is when we go into business and when we're on the grind day in, day out, it can be such a afterthought of making sure these case studies are unique. We can fall into this cookie cutter mentality where we're just churning these out in the same way we're churning out, hopefully, happy, successful customers. But in churning out these cookie cutters, we often miss the different angles, the different industries, the different use cases that may resonate with different prospects or future customers. Because when we create cookie cutters, they're all the same. But if we can really be deliberate about picking out the right story, the right angle for these different case studies, we can have a library of unique ones. They can then empower our sales team to pick the right story for the right prospect. They can hit the right message to help them build that trust in you and become a customer. Now, in creating these number one marketing assets of proof and case studies, it's really important to take the time. And I've seen if you can build the right foundations and systems to do this on repeat for years, then the sky's the limit. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you on the next one. You!